Hello, everybody. Keith again from CryptoCoinMindSet. Appreciate you being here today. As always, I'm here to help you get your mindset on cryptocurrency. And I am fortunate today to have as a guest on this show, Pastor Armstrong, the author of the Bible and Bitcoin. Pastor Armstrong, welcome. Appreciate you taking the time to be here with myself and my audience today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I look forward to chatting about some important things.
Yeah, I agree, and I'll tell you, prior to reading your book, I didn't even I guess I never realized how many times the idea of money was mentioned in the Bible until you actually pointed it out in your book, and I'm thinking, wow, yeah, holy cow, there is a lot of references to money in the Bible. So I appreciated that. And I'll tell you what, before we kind of get into a lot of this stuff, would you mind doing a little bit of introduction about yourself? Maybe how you, what your background is, how you got started, got led to Bitcoin, and maybe what even led you to write the book.
Yeah, so I'm a pastor in Canada, and my journey to Bitcoin was maybe you could say typical, maybe not, depending. I guess everyone's journey is unique in their own respect. I had several exposures to Bitcoin until it got to a point where I said, okay, I got to figure this thing out. Because every 4 years, it seemed that Bitcoin continually punished me with this number go up thing. And, my first exposure to Bitcoin was through a Bitcoin faucet. I couldn't even tell you the year. Way, 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 way long back in the day of early Bitcoin when they were giving these things away for free, right? You'd go to the Bitcoin faucet,
Yes.
and I think you put your email in, and then I think I could be mistaken. It was so long ago, but I think they would literally email you your keys or something like that, or instructions to obtain them. And it was like these numbers, these letters, and I'm like, what the heck is this?
What is this?
This is confusing. This is supposed to be money, and I was, to my own shame, I was too lazy to figure it out. So I thought, I'm not gonna bother with this. This is just silly. Because at the time, I saw websites. It was like gambling websites where you use Bitcoins, and I thought, well, I'm not really going to be gambling on these websites with these Bitcoins, so I'm going to just, forget about it. It was fun while it lasted. I think it was 5 Bitcoins I could have got to. And then time goes on, and wow, those 5 Bitcoins all of a sudden
worth something.
Are worth something very valuable. So I go, what the heck? So then it wasn't until 2017 when the price ran up that I was exposed again. And I thought, wow, 10,000, 15, I think it went up to 20 at one point topped. And I'm going, whoa, this is crazy. But again, I didn't take the time to invest, to learn. That's really the most important thing with Bitcoin is you have to really invest. Like before you invest your money, you have to invest your time to learn this thing.
Yes.
Usually for most people.
Well, you should, even though most people don't. I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, you should. That's the most important thing is invest time to learn. So I didn't do that. And then, of course, the bear market of 2018 hit. There was China FUD. And I thought, I guess it's dead, right? Surely this thing can't go up more than 20 grand. That was just a fluke, right? But again, I didn't learn. I didn't understand the thing. I just thought, well, there's no way a digital thing like this can be valued so high. That must have been a fluke. And so I actually did buy some like Dogecoin on the side because it was like a penny at the time. And I thought, haha, this is fun.
Yeah.
Who cares, right?
Why not? Yeah.
And then it wasn't until 2020 that again Bitcoin punished me. and at this point I thought, okay, I have to now figure this out. Dogecoin, of course, ran up had a crazy pump. And I
Yes.
was like, okay, I know that was a fluke. I know I just got lucky with that. That was just a joke. I wasn't even thinking. But there's something about Bitcoin that's different because it has a lasting power. I mean, it's still here.
Right. It's been dead how many times, but yet
Right.
it's still alive.
Yeah. And not only is it alive, it seems every time that it dies, it comes back stronger. So that at that point, I said, that's it. I'm on a mission. I'm laser focused. I have to figure out, for better or for worse, what Bitcoin is. I
Yep.
have to. I was determined to be able to answer the question, like, what is it about Bitcoin? I wanted to know that. And if I got the answer and I thought, okay, it's still not sufficient, fine. But at least I know. At least I know now. And of course, I went down the rabbit hole, read Saifedean's book, and it just clicked. Oh my goodness, this is not just about money. This is like a revolution. This is something that goes deep to the human condition, and it solves the problem of fiat money. It solves the problem of centralization of power. This
Yep.
thing separates money from states.
Yes.
Whoa. I never thought of it that way because I just
It's
assumed, I took for granted that money was a operation of the state,
of the
right?
state. Yes.
Um, but it's not.
Yep.
It's not, right? The Bible doesn't give the government that authority. History testifies that money is not a state function thing. Money is is a technology that arises organically among human communities for trade. It's not a centralized government decree. That's
Right.
only been that's a modern idea. That's in human history. Very now you might say, oh well, the Romans, they minted coins. Sure, they put images on gold,
Right.
but it was still gold. You
Yeah.
could
Gold
take
was it. Yes.
a bare piece of gold with no image, and it would still be just as viable as the one with Caesar's image. Now, Caesar might take that gold and then stamp his image on it,
Right.
fine, but it's still gold. It's still gold. So,
I wish I had read the Bitcoin Standard when I first got in the space because it
yeah.
came out shortly after I got in the space. I think he published that, I think, in late 2017, if I remember correctly. And it would have saved me so much time. It would have saved me so much money. It would have saved me so much headache, basically, if I had done that. And I'm not going to lie, to this moment, I was on his website ordering it today because I still have not yet read the book, but I got to. So the fact that you just like even mentioned that in your coming to Bitcoin, I thought was great. Sorry, I know that's kind of an aside to what we were just talking about, but I thought it was a pertinent reference because it seems to me like that's probably the guide, if you would.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate and blessed in that that was the first book I read on Bitcoin. Well, I didn't read it. I actually listened to it on Audible.
Audiobook, yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. But anyway, same idea. So that was the first my first exposure to Bitcoin education was the Bitcoin Standard. And I kind of have to give thanks because if I would have done this, say in 2014 or earlier, I think I probably would have done some stupid things. I probably would have lost a ton of money in ICOs and got involved in all types
Yep.
of scams and been
Yep.
tricked by. But it was so I'm thankful to God that He sort of blocked me from going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole until such a resource was available. Because, like you said, it did save me a lot of trouble, maybe,
Yeah.
in my life. And it really put me on the straight and narrow of like Bitcoin only, just focus on this. This is the revolution. This is the technology. This is what's important. The rest of the stuff, forget it. Just focus on this and you'll be okay. And really Bitcoin education, what struck me about that book was it wasn't really so much about Bitcoin. Have you read it yet, or you haven't?
I have not. I have not.
So you'll notice that most of the book doesn't even talk about Bitcoin. It's only about the last part. He really takes you through history and the
I have
history of
binged his
money.
podcast, and he
Yeah,
says that like the first 7 chapters or
yeah.
something have absolutely nothing to do with Bitcoin.
No, they don't. It's really just an education on money. It's a monetary education. It's maybe I should reword it like this. It's an intro to economics almost. And that's very easy to understand for the common layman. So I remember listening to it at work and just being blown away, chapter after chapter. Oh my gosh, how did I miss this? And as
Right.
I'm listening to it, Bible verses are popping in my head. I'm going, whoa! I'm making these connections. And I met Saifedean, and I told him this, and he said, I get that a lot. He said a lot of Christians will tell me as they listen to my book or read my book, it brought to their remembrance several Bible verses, and he didn't expect that, right? He didn't
Yeah.
expect that.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, so that book was very influential, and I'm thankful to God that it was that book that I was able to read first so as to not get myself in trouble.
And yeah, no, and I'm glad for you that God put your path that way. I feel like many times in my life he's done that for me, and if I may say, kind of what's brought me here, even to this interview, because I've done a lot of things in my life, made a lot of mistakes in my life. I've run the gambit of experiences. I'm no spring chicken, as I like to remind my children and grandchildren. But with that regard, however, I feel like now, at this point in time, this is where he is pointing me. Which is why I am here, and with my jaded opinions or unique opinions or whatever it is, that he wants me to get this word out and do it in the way that, like, that's unique to me,
Right.
because my way might, what's the word I want, might connect with someone, might resonate with someone that otherwise might go down the wrong path.
Mhm.
And so that's as legit as I can get with it for me. So I can completely appreciate. Unfortunately, um, his plan was for me to learn the hard way. And you know what? Maybe I can't see the why that was yet.
Right.
But yeah,
Well,
there was a reason.
it's better to learn the hard way than not to learn at all,
Well, there you go. So thank you for allowing me to kind of expound on that, because I've said that to a couple of people in the space, and sometimes you get those weird looks like, okay, you know, and but it's like, I'm just being honest. I'm not going to sugarcoat it to you at this point.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, I don't got to remember a lie. It's just,
Yeah,
it's,
that's
this
right.
is what it is.
Yeah.
This is what it is. So, thank you for running that background. Now, so was it learning this that kind of put you in? Because what you just said about Saifedean's book is kind of how I felt when I read your book. It was like, holy cow, boom, which then led me to Saifedean, and where I'm currently in the middle of binging his podcast.
Mm. See,
Is that what
I'm gonna tell him that. I'm gonna say, no, I'm not. That's proud. I'm gonna leave it. Praise God. I'm just gonna leave it there. Well, look, I'm really happy you said that, because the reason I wrote that book was so that that would happen for people. Um, I wrote this book as the book I wish I had as a Christian. This Bitcoin standard, like, listen, the Bitcoin standard is the standard for Bitcoin. Like, that's the book.
Sure.
I'm not going to say mine is equal. It's not. Saifedean, God has used him tremendously in many people's lives, and I'm so thankful for that. But the real reason I wrote my book, and the reason it's so short, right? Like, it's very thin.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
did that on purpose. I could have put so much more in here, but I did it on purpose because I know that the Christian audience is not going to read a thick book about Bitcoin. Generally speaking, I know these people, they're not going to do it. They're not interested. I listened to the Bitcoin Standard because I had to know Bitcoin. Most Christians, it's not even on their radar.
Right.
So I wrote this book as a short introductory to be the sort of Bitcoin Standard, to have the sort of Bitcoin Standard effect that the Bitcoin Standard has had on that audience. So I'm really glad that it's happened for you, and that's why I wrote it. I wrote it specifically for Christians. Now, some people ask, "Oh, is this a book for unbelieving Bitcoiners?" No, it's not. I didn't write it for unbelievers. I wrote it for believers to show them that Bitcoin is a very, very important technological innovation that solves the problem of monetary sin that's going on in our world. And so we need to, as Christians, be informed and at the forefront of adopting this technology for that reason. So that's why I wrote it, for Christians specifically. And I'm not saying unbelievers won't benefit. I'm sure they would, but
Sure.
it's for that audience. And I think it's pretty clear, just visually that's
what it's meant to
that's
be.
what it's for.
I agree. And well, I'll tell you what, I mean, I can't speak for Christians everywhere, but for me, it was the book I needed at the time. And again, sending me down a different path. And it was kind of, I had already, like I just mentioned, decided that this is the path he's pushing me down to get this word out. And then I came across that interview with Robert Breedlove that when he interviewed you, and then it was like, oh my God, I need this book. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah. The thing with Bitcoiners I found is they are generally very generous with their time. And
yes,
I got a Robert Breedlove, such a generous, genuine individual. He has such a big platform. I mean, this guy's
yes, he
interviewing
does.
he's interviewing the big guys. When he reached out to me, he said, "Hey, you want to be on my show?" I'm like, "Really?" It's crazy. So yeah, I just gotta really show some love for Robert Breedlove for allowing me to be on his show to get this message out. And I'm so thankful it's bearing fruit. So yeah, it's just great to see how we're all working together to get this message out. It's really a beautiful thing.
And that, I think you just hit a key note right there, is that working together to get the
Mhm.
information out, because I don't know that, I mean, regardless of big platforms, that any one of us could really be successful in reaching everybody.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
um, well, so as we go forward, obviously we're going to talk about money, God, and all this other stuff, but I think it might be helpful to start with a common frame of reference for people who might be watching you for the first time. Um, can you take the time to define money as you try to describe it in your book?
Yeah. Well, we just finished talking about Robert Breedlove, right? His show is called "What Is Money?" So he's taken how many hours of content he has on his podcast trying to answer that question. There's so many, such a big,
Facets.
it's such a
Yeah.
big, broad thing, right? Then there's not, I don't know that there's, excuse me, I don't know that there's one right answer that can encapsulate everything to do with this. But the way I define it in the book is that money is a technology used by humans to store our time and energy. Um, That's as simply as I could break it down. And I remember when I was writing the book, I was like, okay, you can't really have a book about money without defining money, right? And
Right.
I'm sitting there going, well, how the heck do I define it? There's so many ways. And I remember I'm typing and deleting and typing and deleting. I'm going, well, all these ways I'm trying to define it aren't wrong, but I just don't feel like they're succinct enough. It's not it's not simple enough for me yet. I have to break it down to one simple statement. And then it just happened. technology for human energy, time,
Yep.
storage of human time and energy. I'm like, that's it. I'm looking for loopholes in it. Nope, 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 nope. And I ran it by some people. I said, what do you think about this definition? Everyone's like, yeah, I think that's it. I can't poke any holes in that. So if you can poke holes in it, by all means, poke holes in it. But I mean, that's as succinct as I, in my finite intelligence, could define it. And so it's helped
That's funny
me.
because I don't see that as finite at all. To be honest with you, it was one of the points in your book that was like, to me,
Yeah,
in the fact of energy,
yeah,
storing future energy. And it brought me back to my childhood, when my grandfather and brought me to the bank to open up my first bank account, because at that point in time, yes, I'm that old, we were still on the gold standard. And you
Well, look,
want
you got more hair than I do. And how did that happen?
I don't know, good genes. So I don't know. But the point was, you need to save money.
Yeah,
You need to save money. You got to put a little bit of, so every time I got a little bit of something for Christmas or got a little bit of something for my birthday, they take me to the bank and put it in my savings account. I had my little passbook savings account, and it was save that money. And even as I tried to instill that in my children, who all have children at this point, God bless them. But it was, I found it increasingly more difficult as the parent to do that.
yeah,
And now, even with my grandchildren, I see my kids are just impossible. They're barely making ends meet.
yeah,
And I find myself trying to teach, and I've right now pigeonholed one particular granddaughter, one of the older ones, and trying to teach her about Bitcoin, trying to teach her why it's important to save in Bitcoin, why, even though she's earning fiat, I get it, she's got her little part-time job thing, but you need to take just a little bit of this
yes, just a little bit.
DCA every week, and that's what I try to teach her, the dollar cost averaging thing, and put this aside. Papa's gonna show you how.
Yeah,
And that's why I said, when you hit on that being about future energy, I one think to myself, I don't own enough Bitcoin. That's first and foremost. And secondarily, what I do own, I got no issue with giving to my grandchildren, because at the end of the day, I need them to be the benefactors, because inflation right now is
yeah,
stealing their future, if you ask me.
exactly.
I
Exactly.
mean, I know I
And
got off
that's
on a tangent. I
no,
apologize.
that's important. That's maybe the most important thing about Bitcoin is the future generations, and that's that's what it's about. Look, like God made us in His image to subdue the earth, to take dominion of it, and what that means is God made us to be, or rather, I should say it this way: God made us to do what He does on a micro scale. I'm not saying we're God, but God made us in His image to do the works He does. So God has created everything: the world, the earth, everything we see. God's created. So here's the thing: we don't actually create anything. What we do is we take God's creation and we mold it and fashion it to a certain end, right? Humans haven't actually created anything.
Right.
We've just used what God has given us in an innovative way to make the world a better place.
Yes.
And so that's what it's all about. That's what money is about. Money is not about money's sake. Money is an intermediary tool, a medium between human beings, so that we could honor each other's energy output in a way that's fair and honest, to the end that we make the world a better place for all human beings.
Agreed.
That's what money is. That's the purpose of money, to
Yes.
serve humans, right? Money serves us, we don't serve it. Our time is the most valuable thing, our energy is the most valuable thing. So we need to use a money that best honors that prime asset we have, which is time and energy.
I,
So
I'm so glad you hit on that. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you to, or one of the comments in your book that I was going to ask you to expound upon. And please feel free to keep going with that, idea of money as a tool that we can use to do what it is God willed us to do. So please,
exactly.
I'm sorry, please.
No, yeah, that's the purpose. And when we lose that purpose, things begin to degrade. And this is what we
Yes.
see happening with fiat money. Fiat money is a poor storage of time and energy because you have men centralizing power and manipulating that. So when money is manipulated, we think, well, that's bad and shouldn't do that. But for the longest period of time, at least in the Western world, in Christian circles at least, it wasn't really that serious to us. It was like, okay, this is the money, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, despite the fact that we don't understand what that even means.
Right.
But we're just going to throw that out there and say it is what it is, whatever, like just work and earn money and you'll be okay. Okay, that works when the money is not being manipulated, but at the very foundation of fiat money, it's built on manipulation. It's built on fraud. It's built on arbitrary rules made by a conglomerate of human beings to whatever end they want, right?
Yes.
So that's the problem, and Bitcoin fixes that problem by putting monetary policy on a code base that's fair, honest, rules-based, without rulers.
Yes.
So that everyone, regardless of your age, regardless of your gender, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of anything, can use it without discrimination, without censorship, and opting in, knowing the rules. Right? It's not one of these things where you opt in and you get rug pulled, like, oh, they just changed the rules on me, or they're discriminating. No, you want to participate in Bitcoin? Sure. You have to follow the rules, period. Right. It's very simple. And the rules before you go in. So it's not like, you're being tricked or anything like that. No, so it's a fair and honest and God honoring monetary. It's the most, as far as I'm concerned, the most God honoring monetary network human beings have ever had at their disposal. And so when you view money this way, you view your time different, you view your energy different, and you view other human beings different. Like, look at with your grandkids, your granddaughter there. I don't know how much she's making, but I'm going to wager to say at this point, she's going to have a hard, almost impossible time living on her own.
Absolutely.
It's almost impossible.
It's impossible.
You can't do it. Unless it's crazy to me. And I feel for the next generation, because what are they going to do? Like, so the old model of get good grades, go to post-secondary school, get a degree, get a job. This is not good advice anymore.
Yeah, it's dead.
This is terrible advice. Unless you have someone in your life who's going to pay your way through all that.
Right.
This is horrible advice. So what you're telling kids is to work hard, get up to your eyeballs in debt that you probably can't pay off, only to maybe get a job, maybe, if you're lucky.
Yep.
Right? And then spend the rest of your life paying off that debt with huge interest. Like, this is terribly horrible advice. It's not like the days where you could just work part-time as a young, 12, 13, 14-year-old, save enough money, that's not possible anymore.
You're right.
Bitcoin fixes this in that it's a hard, sound money that honors your time and your labor and your energy, because it cannot be inflated. It cannot be inflated. So when I look at the economic situation now, especially with the young generations, I get it. You see videos on Twitter of Gen Z. Like, there's one yesterday of this young girl in her car. It looks like she worked at Walmart, and she's just lamenting, like, I work 40 hours a week. I cannot live on my own. I need roommates. I could barely make it even like this. How do you expect us to make it? and people are saying, haha, stupid Gen Z, you kids, you're just lazy. No, this is legit. Like,
no, that's the way it is. That's the new reality.
Yeah, and this is due to fiat money. This is due to inflation. This is due to this ungodly, beastly system of a money we have. And now the church, I'm trying to wake them up. Guys, I want to shake them. Wake up. Don't you see this is not loving your neighbor? Don't you see this system is suppressing and oppressing your neighbor who Jesus says to love? Is this how Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself? Is this how you would love yourself with this sort of a system? No, this is hate. Fiat money is hate your neighbor money. That's what it is. And it's hurting people, and it's causing people to not follow the way of the Lord. These kids don't want to have kids of their own. Why would they?
Of course. Why?
Yeah. They can't even afford to feed themselves. Now you're going to, and so what does this do? This leads to them having abortions and making decisions that are wicked and ungodly. And I'm not justifying those decisions. They're wrong decisions, but you can't be surprised this is happening under a fiat system. So you can see how this fiat money leads to all sorts of other evils in society that we don't connect back to the system, but really it's flowing out of that.
I want to add one other thing with my granddaughter. I was mentioning having her putting a little bit into Bitcoin, right? I'm also having her put a little bit of fiat aside in a savings account, because my hope was in my thought process that eventually she will see and orange pill her in the fact that, well, this actually earned me money and I can get stuff with this, and this is like useless to me at this point. That was kind of my hope in doing that, and I'm still hopeful for that. I don't think I have to hope too much. The system will take care of that.
Well, she'll see the one account be worth more and the other account be worth less.
Will just be right,
and she'll go, wait a minute, maybe there's something to this.
Yeah, maybe I should listen to Papa. Yeah. Anyway, I pray daily. When I do, part of my thoughts and prayers go to healing this world. And I mean, I feel like I don't know what else to do beside the fact that of what I'm doing, and with this, I mean, and praying for that, because you know what? Again, I'm the one guy. Yes, hopefully banding together with a bunch of like-minded people who are going to help to move things forward. But at the end of the day, there's somebody that has the opportunity to be able to change it at his will. So I guess I want to say I appreciate the way you put that about how this stupid system we have of fiat money kind of ruins the world. Yeah, I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, there's a very often quoted Bible verse people will quote to me in a way where they think, anyways, it's the love of money is the root of all evil. And people will quote that to me and say, you talk too much about money. Don't you know the love of money is the root of all evil? I'm like, that's the point. Yes, but you missed it.
Yes.
Listen, fiat money is the love of money.
Right.
Think about the system itself is a manifestation of the love of money.
Yes.
Because here you have a system where, well, you don't have to really work to create any of this money. We'll just create it at our will. And it's really a friend of mine, Luke Broyles, likes to call it political currency units. That's what it is. It's just political currency. And so if you think about it, the fiat money system is literally built on the foundation of the love of money.
Yeah.
So why are we surprised that it becomes the root of all evils? Like, the Bible told us this.
Yes.
The Bible told us if you love money, you will see it will become a root of all kinds of evils. And this is literally what we're seeing happening with fiat money. Now, some will say, well, you can love Bitcoin. Sure, you can. You can have an unhealthy love for Bitcoin. You can serve it as your God, and it too will become a root of evil, because the evil is really in the heart of man, loving that which is not God. So sure, it can. However, Bitcoin, the system, is not fundamentally built on a principle of fraud and a love for money. That's the difference. Now you have to make the choice.
Correct. And
yeah,
can I just say, I think you pointed that out. I'm going to actually open to it. It's you put it right in the beginning of chapter 3 of your book, where you're talking Proverbs 16:11 and Proverbs 20:10, where you're talking about equal weights and measures. And I think that is so pivotal a chapter. So for those who haven't read this book, make sure you pay attention to chapter 3, because I really believe that's the pivot point around understanding. So you are probably going to be a lot more articulate than me. Could you please maybe expound on that just a little bit to how that relates not only to the fiat system but to Bitcoin?
So in ancient times, lots of different things were used as money. We know about gold and silver, but other things were used as a unit of account, like grain and
Seashells,
stuff like this. So
yeah.
In those ancient days, the way you would do, because they didn't have minted coins yet. I think Egypt was starting to do stuff like this, but it wasn't really widespread. So the way that you would transact with one another is you'd go to the merchant, and he would have a scale, like a literal scale, or you would have a scale with you. You'd bring with you in order to do business with people. And so they'd say, okay, I want to buy X amount of whatever. Okay, it's going to cost so much in, let's say, silver. So you would take your scale and you would put the money on the scale, and it would, when it was balanced, okay, that's the proper amount of money you would pay. But what would happen is people would manipulate the scales by making one side heavier or one side lighter, so that they would steal from you on a sort of a margin, right?
Yeah,
in the buying and in the selling, they could manipulate the scale so that they would get more of your money for less of the good. Or you can manipulate it as a buyer, and you could have to give less money for more good. So you can manipulate the scales either way. So this is how it happened. So God comes in and he says to the people of Israel, your money has to be equal. Right. Don't use an unequal measure, an unequal scale. He says, when you do business, have an equal and just weight. That's what it's referring to. So this is a principle that can go throughout. It's a universal principle throughout all time. God's monetary policy is really simple: equal scales. And really, you could boil it down to, you shall not steal.
Right.
That's really what it is.
Because that's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. Fundamentally, you're stealing. So God's monetary policy at the most base, simple, boiled down level is, you shall not steal. And so you can steal, manipulate, become fraudulent with gold and with silver. You can have an unequal weight and balance. You can manipulate the metals and so forth. The thing about Bitcoin is it's a pure system in that you literally cannot defraud somebody. If let's say you want to buy my house for 1 Bitcoin, you can't send me a fake Bitcoin.
Right.
You can try.
Right.
But it won't even get to me.
It won't succeed.
So I don't even have to trust you in buying and selling. You could be
Right.
the most dishonest person on the planet. Doesn't matter to me, because the system, the network of Bitcoin, will take care of the honesty. See?
Yes.
So that's what makes it the most godly system, is because it takes God's principle, you shall not steal, and it encodes it into a software program of scarcity that anybody can use, regardless of your proclivities, whether you're honest or whether you're dishonest.
Right. Right. I don't know. It amazes me that people don't know, don't care, whatever. I don't know what it is, but yet it is. How do I put this? It's the crux of the problem with the fiat system, in my opinion. And right to, again, Proverbs that you just highlighted with.
It incentivizes corruption.
Yes.
Fiat money incentivizes. Why do you think why do you think successful politicians are the most corrupt? Because that's the only way you're successful in the system.
Yes.
The only way you can be successful in this political system is to be corrupt. If you're honest, you don't make it.
You're correct. You're so correct. Given that being the norm, and I'm assuming it's similar in Canada. I know you're in Canada, but
It's worse.
Okay, well,
it's
there you
probably
go.
worse.
How do you see the future playing out, and how does I guess Bitcoin and play out to let God's word reign? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you get the question I'm trying to ask you? I'm sorry.
I get it. I guess the way I see it is it's darkest right before the dawn, I think the saying goes.
That is the saying, yes.
So a lot of people I see on Twitter are dooming and glooming about the situation, and especially with this ETF. Oh, BlackRock's gonna take the Bitcoin, and then the government's gonna seize it, and this, and it's gonna be the worst. I tend to have a different view. One that Saifedean shared that better articulated what I tried to put into words, but just couldn't. He said, BlackRock is not going to subvert Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to subvert BlackRock. And basically my view is that these people with nefarious agendas are going to fail. Basically, people tend to give them too much credit, in that they almost treat these people as if they're omnipotent and
yes,
can't fail. Whereas I have the opposite view of they can't succeed.
Right. It is perspective, right? It is.
Yeah, it is. Well, look at, sure, but just read the Bible. The Bible is such a supernatural book because it just gives you the perspective, the true perspective of history. Read a book like Daniel, read Revelation, read Exodus. What you see is evil, tyrannical kingdoms and nations trying to subvert God and always failing. Okay? Always. And it always looks the worst right before the light shines.
The miracle happens, yes.
Always. In the Exodus, let my people go, let my people go, let my people go. Pharaoh, no. Finally, God says, all right, you've tied my hands. I have to destroy you now.
Yeah.
And the last plague, and the people they go. But even then, they thought, okay, we're free now. But even then, Pharaoh's like, I changed my mind. Go get those Israelites. Bring them back. And there they are in front of the sea. They got a sea in front. They have Pharaoh's army in the back. What the heck now? We're done. Boom. Sea splits. They go. God kills Pharaoh's army. So this is and that's a extravagant, like, whoa, that's a crazy supernatural event. But the principle remains throughout history. Every single kingdom, I challenge you, find one kingdom that has overcome God's people. Find one. Can't do it. Nebuchadnezzar comes, he ransacks Jerusalem, he takes the people away. Oh, there goes God's people. Next thing you know, they're back in the land, right?
Right.
How many tyrants have risen up between the time of the resurrection of Christ and today? How many tyrants have risen up and said, I'm going to end this? Collect all the Bibles, burn all the Bibles, kill anybody who professes to believe in the God of the Bible. Guess what? We're still here. We're still here. And they always lose. So my challenge is to doom and gloomers is, why is this time different? Why is this time evil gonna win? It's not. And some will point to Revelation and say, oh, but it says here in the Revelation that the beast will overcome the saints. Read the whole sentence. For a time, then he loses.
Right.
So the darker it gets, the closer we are to victory. So don't fret. Don't be upset. Don't be scared. God wins.
I appreciate you saying that, because sometimes, like you said, operating on Twitter or whatever, it's easy to get just pelted
Yeah.
and bombarded and damn near beaten down by that kind of thing. And hey, I'm human, I succumb to that sometimes, and even probably with that question. So I appreciate your graciousness to explain that, because you know what, I think I needed to hear that, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So
It's just the way it is in history. And anytime, learn from your forefathers, right? I mean, this is such an important thing. We need to learn from those who've gone before us.
yes,
Anybody who stood their ground for that which is true and good had a hard time.
yes,
Wasn't easy for them. Wasn't easy
yes,
to stand up to tyranny. Everybody looks at people who stood up to tyranny in the past and they applaud them and how awesome they were, and yeah, they deserve the accolades for their thing. God says that He will exalt those who humble themselves. So that's what's happening. However, is that you? Right?
right,
Is that's oh, we love to read about it, but then we don't like to live it.
yep,
When we're living it, we think, oh, this is it. This is it. It's only going to get worse. Your forefathers in the faith would smack you upside the head and tell you to grow a pair and
yep,
trust the Lord.
suck it up, yep,
You know, do you believe in the victory of the Lord or not? Stop. Listen, a lot of Christians, I find, give the devil too much credit. They give the devil too much credit. The devil is not all powerful. The devil, he's a fool. He loses. Stop giving the devil any credit. He doesn't deserve any. And start looking to Christ, who is about to work your victory. I've said this. I'll end this section with this statement. The book of Revelation often is misunderstood as this book of doom and gloom. It's actually not. It's a book of tremendous hope and victory. In the book of Revelation, what we see happening over and over again is God is taking what looks like apparent defeats and using them for victory. So when it looks like you're defeated, that's when you're actually about to win. So don't give up.
amen to that. The phrase, or the quote, only way evil wins is if good does nothing. I'm probably butchering that
Yeah,
quote,
yeah.
but you get what I'm trying to say. As you were talking, is just all that kept popping into my head right there. And yeah, and what pops into my head when I think, man, when I get the hate, that gets directed back at me, and not even just online. In our personal lives, I've got family who just, like, the minute you talk Bitcoin or any crypto, blockchain, whatever, pick it, it doesn't matter. Wow, that's all I got to say. Get the shield
Yeah.
up, because here it comes.
It's one of those things where it's like, okay, we'll see.
Right,
You know,
and exactly.
I have the haters too, and you know what? They're awfully quiet now.
Mm,
No one's saying anything now.
yep.
I've had people, like, my God. When Bitcoin dumped hard there after FTX, I was like, cool, this is it. Let's go. Boom, buy more.
Buy more.
Um,
Yep.
it seems kind of dumb to buy the top and not the bottom, right? This just doesn't compute with me. And people were saying, oh, I can't buy any Bitcoin now. I bought it at 50,000 and now look, I got to wait for it to recover. I'm like, so let me get this straight. Your investment strategy is always buy the top.
Right.
Like, what?
Yeah.
And people started to kind of shun me. It's like, oh, Alan, he's crazy. He got in this Bitcoin scam and he's losing all his money and all this.
Oh, you sound like some of my relatives.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, all right, man, don't buy the bottom then. You don't. My advice is don't.
Yeah, exactly. Do you?
And do whatever. I don't care. But this thing's going to recover, and you're going to be kicking it. People have said, one individual at my church, he said one of his family members called during FTX. Are you okay? Is everything okay? We see what's happening. And he's like, yeah, I'm great, man. Like, buy the bottom. This is great. This is a blessing.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, when Bitcoin recovers, you need to call that family member and say, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? Because
Yeah, you good
yeah.
now?
But that's the thing, right? Let them hate. Who cares? At the end of the day, Bitcoin will punish them like it punished us. And
Yep.
one day maybe they will learn, say, okay, maybe this is something important. I've had people leave my church because of my stance on Bitcoin, like literally leave my church
Really?
and slander me to others in the city, saying, oh, he's the Bitcoin pastor, and kind of using that in a derogatory sense. And I'm like, okay, fine. You know what? This is the moral money. If you don't want to put in the work to study economics, to study what the Bible says about money, about a fair and just weight, if you want to just be a normie Christian who just,
Right.
saves fiat money and thinks they're doing a good thing and being fine, go ahead. Like I can't make you do anything. But my mission is to understand the word of God and apply the word of God in my life today to the best of my ability. Now, here's the thing. If Bitcoin goes to zero tomorrow, no regrets.
Right.
No regrets. And people
Right.
say, you're crazy. Why? Because it was the principled position. That's why.
Yes.
It was the principled position. If Bitcoin fails and fiat wins, I rather go down with the moral option than
Yes.
with the immoral option.
Yes.
It's the principle. It's not about
It is the
money. It's
principle
about
of
the
the thing.
principle. What is the right and honest and good thing?
Yes.
If you do that and it ends up going bad for you, well, you did the right thing. And that's what's most important. Jordan Peterson says the best outcome is the outcome that happens when you do the right thing.
Right. And guess what?
That's how I see it.
They ain't answering when the time comes before God. You
No.
are.
Right.
I got to answer for me. So if I did what was right, so be it. You know
Right.
what I mean? That's the way I look at it.
And I'm not out here saying buy Bitcoin. I'm out
Right.
here saying learn it.
Yes.
Learn it and then make
Because
your
once you
decision.
do, then you'll want to buy it.
Right. This is not financial advice. This is just,
Right.
I'm just telling people, here is what Bitcoin is. Here's what I've learned. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with it? You can buy some or you cannot. Don't care. Not my problem. I'm not telling you to do anything, but you have to at least learn it and then make your decision.
And then make an informed, critical thinking decision. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Let me ask. I mean, because I remember in the interview you did with Robert Breedlove, we were talking earlier. You talked about trying to get some pastors around you to read your book and stuff like that, and you basically met with a a cold reception. Now, I mean, it's been a little bit of time since then. Do you see that maybe there's more reception to that possibility? Not just your book, but like to explore the understanding of economics through a Christian lens and or Bitcoin through a Christian lens now than there was then?
Locally, no.
Okay.
Locally, there's any pastor who I've orange pilled was because they came to me with questions. I've never gone to anybody and said, hey, you want to talk about Bitcoin? And then they're like, sure. And then they've been orange pilled. But Bitcoin is one of those things I think that people have to have a desire to understand it. If they don't, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to work.
Right.
I mean, maybe that's a bit cynical. Maybe there is a way, but from my experience, at least with pastors, if they're not approaching you curious, they're not going to care. And I even offered to do like free seminars for local churches, and they're like, no, we're not interested at the time. And this was at the bottom of the bear market. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to target them now because this is the time, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, this is the time. It's probably a good time to figure this out because you got at least a year here where you can learn and then make an informed decision and buy at a good time. But unfortunately, they're going to probably buy the top this cycle and have to learn the hard way like the rest of us.
Yep.
So that's been my experience. There was a lot of what's the word? Interest during the trucker convoy. Several pastors I had conversations with. They're like, okay, looks like they're seizing money. Maybe Bitcoin might be a good idea right now. So a lot of people were orange pilled as a result of the government overreach. But after that, yeah, if they don't care, they just don't care. People who buy my book are those who are seeking to understand it, and they're from all over the place. But you know, it's one of those things where a prophet is not received in his own hometown, right?
Amen to that. Yes, yes, yes.
Those of your family, they don't care. They grew up with you. Oh, what do you
Yeah,
know? You know, they're not going to take you.
You're the crazy kid that didn't listen. You're the whatever.
Yeah. They're not, you know. Or, you know, and I've had other business ideas and things in the past that haven't worked out. So, you know, oh well, this is just another one of those type of things, right? So
yeah,
I get it. That's the way it is. That's okay. I'm not bitter about it. I'm just going to keep doing my thing and trusting God with that. So they'll come when they come, and you know, they say you get Bitcoin at the price you deserve. So that's that.
Exactly. I was thinking about that. Yes. That meme, you buy Bitcoin at the price you deserve. Now in the back of your book, you have an entire section that is dedicated for churches who are looking to teach about Bitcoin. Did you want to speak a little bit about that? And have you just have you done any like supplementary materials? Have you done anything else that you think would that to help to facilitate that education?
Yeah. So right before I published the book, I was about to be like, okay, I'm done. And then I got this idea, you know, like maybe you should put a study guide in the back. Okay, you know, I kind of, you know, hemmed and hawed about it, but then decided, yeah, I'm going to do it. And it's been one of the best selling features, really, of the book. I was at Pacific Bitcoin with the Thank God for Bitcoin crew. They, you know, graciously let me sell my book at their booth there, which was great. And a lot of people came up, and it was kind of like just I had my book just kind of displayed there, and people would look at it and they'd see the word Bible and be like, "What the heck? What's, you know, I'm at a Bitcoin conference. What's this about?" And I would see them make, like, you could kind of see it, like they're thinking like, huh, what? They kind of stop for a second. They're like, what's this? And every time I'd catch someone doing that, I'm like, hey, you're interested, aren't you? And they'd be like, yeah. And then they'd come and talk to you. And I would basically just say, look, you know, find out like where they're from, blah, blah, blah. Like, are you a Christian? Are you not? And whether they were Christian or not, one thing was universal. They had Christian friends who they tried to orange pill and were unsuccessful. As one encounter that I remember specifically was a young man, and he goes, I'm trying to orange pill my mom. She's a Christian. She doesn't want to hear a thing about it. And I said, well, look, here's what you do. Buy this book, then tell your mom, hey, mom, or ask your mom, hey, would you be interested in doing a Bible study with me? She's going to say yes. I promise.
Yes, she will say yes.
You know, she's a Christian mother. You're her son who's an unbeliever. If you approach her with, do you want to have a Bible study? She's going to knock her socks off and she's going to be like, what? Yes, I do. And then it's a win-win, because at the same time, your mother gets to be reading the Bible with you and sharing the Bible with you, and you get to be orange pilling her. Win-win. We're bringing families together here, folks.
Yeah.
This is what it's all about. So that's what the study is for. It's really about just bringing people together to study Bitcoin in a way that's biblically friendly, not intimidating, fun. There's like some videos. There's some QR codes here.
Yes.
Like you could scan the QR codes. They'll bring you to videos and interactive stuff. I ran the study. What is it? 6 or 7 weeks? 5 or 6 weeks. I don't know. Anyways, it's about a 5 or 6 week study. And I ran it at my church, and half of the people who came were already Bitcoiners. Half were not. And by the end of it, everybody was a Bitcoiner. Nice. So it was really successful. There was one woman who came who said, I just came here just for fellowship. I didn't really care about Bitcoin. I just wanted to hang out with you guys. And by the end of it, she said, wow, I didn't realize how wicked and evil fiat money was. and how Bitcoin is a viable solution to that issue. So yeah, go ahead and get it. Have a small group. If you want to buy bulk copies, you could buy at a discount on my website, thebibleandbitcoin.com. You can get up to 10 for $10 each. If you want to buy less, just let me know. I can help you out there, and hold a study for yourself. It's a really good time.
Well, I think I'm going to be doing that because, more so because as after this video airs, I want to do a lot more future promotion about it. And I was thinking in some of those future promotions, I want to raffle off your book because, you can tell people to buy the book. You can tell them to, read the book. Well, listen, I'm going to give you the dang book. So, you know what I mean? Now it's on you. All you got to do is read it and go from there. So yeah, you'll be hearing from me. Let me ask you this. I know we've been going on for over an hour now, and I truly do appreciate your time. I do. To try and bring this together, what would you like to say? I don't know, that you think would encapsulate everything, bring it together, a message you want to get out that you feel that you have to get out. What would you have to say?
Yeah, well, I think the message is the same. It's always been the same. It's the message of the gospel of Jesus Christ. He came, he lived, he died, he rose again, and he's the hope for humanity. And Bitcoin is, as far as I'm concerned, it's a tool to help us fulfill that mission to bring the good news of Christ to the world. It's a fair and just monetary system for all of God's imagers to use. It benefits everybody. And that's what it is. It's just my mission. I want people to know Christ, to love Christ, and I want to love my neighbor, and I want humanity to flourish, and the next generation to be blessed and to have a foundation to build on. So that's my message. That's my mission. That's the mission. That's the message. I want my children and their grandchildren to look back and say, thank God for my father, for my grandfather, for giving us this inheritance of godliness and having the foresight and the wisdom to sacrifice their lives to make ours better. And to keep this thing going in the right direction. So we're in a position now, that the cycle, weak men make hard times make strong men make good times. We're in a weak men make hard times scenario, or we're in the hard times make strong men scenario. And there's only a few of us, a small remnant, but that's all it takes. That's all it takes. Jesus chose 12. That's all it took.
That's a good point.
Gideon had 300. He had a huge army, and God said, "Nah, there's too many of you. I'm gonna slice it down because I want people to know that it's me fighting and not you. I don't want you to get the glory." So it's the same thing here. There's a reason there's only a remnant. There's only a small number of us, because that's how God is delighted to glorify Himself and do things. So. It's a blessing to be accounted among the few, and I pray I would honor God in it, and that my children will be blessed as a result, and your children will be blessed as a result, and they'll thank God for us, and we'll die and be forgotten.
Yes, right. And listen, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you writing this book. Like I said, it gave me that moment that's led me again down other paths already. And honestly helps to stoke the fire of what I'm doing on my channel. So I really appreciate that. And why don't you, for the last couple of seconds here, feel free to tell everybody where they can find you, any other information you want to put out there.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Pastor Coin. You can find my book on the Bible and Bitcoin.com. Although on my website, I only accept Bitcoin. I don't accept Fiat. So if you want to buy it from the website, it is discounted, so you will get a discount if you pay in Bitcoin. If you don't want to, you go to Amazon, buy it from there. And what else? Yeah, just keep up the good fight. Don't give up. it's, you know, it's an upward battle, but nothing worth doing is ever easy. So I'm just happy and fortunate to live in a time where we can see this thing. We can see such a unique thing happen.
Amen to that. And yes, thank you. I have to admit, I ended up buying it on Amazon because, you know, I'm a dummy, but
yeah, if you want to buy bulk, let me know. If you pay in Bitcoin,
yep.
I could get you a good discount. Just
All
because,
right.
you know what, at the end of the day, and when I was setting up the website, I wanted to accept fiat just because I'm like, okay, if people want to pay fiat, I'll just buy Bitcoin with it, whatever. But it was just too inefficient.
And probably the fees were killing you.
Yeah, it was
I'm
too
gonna guess.
inefficient. I was like, at the end of the day, I'm not even going to be making much of a profit if I accept
Right.
fiat. This
Right.
is ridiculous. Especially accepting US dollars living in Canada. By the time it gets to me,
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
by the time it
Oh,
gets to me, it's eaten up by fees and international transfer, this and that. I'm like, this is,
oh,
forget this. Just give me the
yeah, send me
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
And then I can sell whatever portion I need to cover the cost of getting you the books, and then just keep the Bitcoin.
Right.
There's literally just well, at this point, there's really no fee involved, because you just send the Bitcoin directly to me, and that's it. It's done.
Right.
You get a
Right.
discount, I get the Bitcoin, everyone's happy.
Yeah. Win-win.
Yep.
Win-win. All right. Well, again, thank you. I'm hoping maybe in the future we can do this again. I will make sure that links to all of Pastor Armstrong's information will be in the description of this video. So please go ahead. If you're on Twitter, follow him there. Make sure you like and subscribe to his YouTube channel. And I'm gonna just say it. You need to at least read this book. If you're looking for the giveaway, pay attention to probably my next live stream after this airs, and I'll give you that information, how you're going to be able to potentially get that book. Pastor Armstrong, thank you again. God bless you. I really appreciate what you're doing, and thank you for being with me today.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. It was a good time.
All right. Take care, everybody.